Think about it. When did God save you? You might say, well, I was born again on April 15th, on this day. No. But yes, but it's just as true that he saved you on the cross. So before you received it, he saved you at the cross. Your salvation was there, but it only became real when you received it in. It was already there. Full, complete for your whole life, every sin covered, full. You didn't do anything except you had to just say, yes, I receive it. And that's basically what they say the sinner's prayer is saying, yes. I'm saying, yes, amen, yes, yes. It's not only true for salvation, it's true for every blessing in salvation now in your life. The blessing is already there. Your part is to receive what's already there. Let it come. Imagine two people have a task. They have a task. They have to end up with as much water as possible. And one of them tries to produce water. Of course, you can't produce water. But then they see a fountain. Which is the one who's going to have the most water? The one with the most cups? Or the one with the largest cups? Or the one who keeps filling up their cup? So now you got two believers, and the mission is to have as much blessing in your life, that's a good mission, right? As possible, to live the most blessed life you can live, blessed life in God. One tries to produce the blessing. You can't produce it. The blessing only comes from God, but then they see a fountain. The fountain of the blessing is the cross. That's where all the blessings come. God says in Zechariah, it says, they'll look upon me whom they have pierced on that day when the Jewish people come to Messiah. And it says, then I will open up a fountain for the cleansing of sin. Well, there's only one fountain. That's the cross. That's Messiah. That's God's love that on the cross for you. That's the fountain. In that fountain are all the blessings of God. The blessing of salvation, yes. But the blessing of forgiveness, the blessing of healing, the blessing of providing, the blessing of God's love, the blessing of every other blessing. It's in there. So which believer is going to be the most blessed? To live the most blessed life? The one who most receives from that fountain gets filled up every day from that fountain. The one who is best receiving from that fountain. By the way, that fountain is the cross. That means there's a lot of preaching that is now downplaying the cross. There's no blessing in it. I mean, there might be hype, and there might be you feel good, and you get, hey, I got some motivation. But that's not the blessing. The blessing is by coming back to that cross, coming back to the love of God. That's what it's about. And in that is the blessing. Not one, all for every day of your life. So how blessed will you be? It's not about how much money you're going to get. How blessed will you be? It's not about whether you got that car. How blessed? It's your choice. How much are you going to get filled up every day? Now, if you apply this to your life, it will change your life. How do you apply it? First, replace that I gotta get attitude with I have to let. You have to, and replace that attitude as I don't have the, I have to wait. I won't be blessed until I have this. All you're doing is putting yourself farther and farther away from blessing. You got to be, listen, that is not our faith. Our faith is not that someday I'm going to get blessed. Our faith is He blessed me, He died for me, He rose for me, and I am blessed. I can live a blessed life. Now, that's what it's about. There's more blessing, good. I can ask God for all things, but I got to remember that no matter whatever I ask for, it's not going to be as blessed as what I already have in salvation. Amen. You have to become, a lot of us too often are problem conscious. And it's not that we're not to be aware of it, yes, but, somebody says, 10 good things, they say one bad thing, and all we think about is the one bad thing. And if you get more known, you might get 100 letters, and 100 letters, 95 are great, 5 are not, and all you think about is the 5. We tend to think about the problem. God wants we are to be aware of the problem, but that's not our focus. Our focus is the blessing. Our focus is the gospel. The gospel is good news. That's what we have to become confident. I am a good news person. Not that I pretend the world is the world. The world's the world, but I know the good news comes from God. That I become blessing conscious. I have no doubt the blessing is there, so I don't have to scrounge around my life begging and trying to get and trying to manipulate. I don't have to do that because I have blessing from God. And there's more than enough than I'll ever have. I don't have to envy anybody else. Nobody has more blessing. I got an infinite blessing coming. If you're a child of God, you got to know that you are surrounded by blessing. It says in front of you, it's above you, it's within you. It says, we have this treasure. It says, surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me. It's even behind you. You're being followed. Pursued. The blessings are there. We have to become blessing conscious from God. The gospel, good news. The one who believes the good news is saved. That's good. Jerusalem, back then, if you were back then, 2,000 years ago, Jerusalem was filled with problems, filled with issues, filled with good and bad, corruption, all sorts of stuff going on. But on Palm Sunday, you can't be looking at the problems. You got something better to look at. You've got Messiah coming to Jerusalem. You understand? The focus is on Yeshua, Jesus coming, not the problems. That's the key right there. If you focus all the time on your problems, you're not going to have the blessing. You're not going to know it. You're not going to enjoy it. You have to get your eyes off the problem. Yes, I know about it. I committed to God, and I'm getting my eyes back to the answer who's coming. Him who comes into. Palm Sunday, the blessing is there. You got to receive it. That's what these palms are about. That's what they're about. They're a symbol of receiving Him, welcoming. This palm is all about this message. It's letting in. It's welcoming in. The blessing has to be let in, and the blessing has to be prepared for. The open door, the door has to be open, and the blessing has to be welcomed proactively. Not just, I hope I'm blessed. I'm going to welcome in the blessing today. You can do that. You don't have to wait for the blessing. You can welcome in the blessing today. Apply it. You want to be blessed? Everybody does. You want love? Everybody wants to be loved. You want people to love you. I'm trying to get people to love me, earn love, produce love, even get God to love me. Forget that. Stop trying to get it. You don't have to get any love. Love is there. You have to let the love come in. Let the love have its way. Let the love come into your mind, come into your emotions, come into your past. It'll heal it all. Open up the gates, open up those ancient gates. It says, open up those old gates that blocked because you knew abuse, you knew rejection. Okay, you're in a fallen world, we got that, but now you're in a risen salvation. And so now open up that ancient gate and let the King of Glory, let His love come in. Welcome it in. You need purity. Everybody needs purity. You want to be holy. We all want to be holy. From ourselves, we can't be holy. We don't have it in ourselves. But God is holy. You can spend your life trying to achieve holiness. That's nice, but you're not going to get it. The secret, only one can give you that to you. The secret is, turn away from that. You can't achieve it. You can't produce purity. You can't do that. Don't be shocked that the old self is still the old self. It's never going to be anything but the old self. But it's the new self. The thing is but we receive holiness. You receive purity. You don't deserve it, but I am pure by God and I receive that. I am holy by God. I receive that. And now I'm going to live holy by God because I have God in me. You need victory. You can spend a lifetime trying to be victorious. I understand that's natural. Not that you shouldn't want to be victorious. But it doesn't come that way. If you could be victorious on your own, you don't need God. One of the words that it says happens on Palm Sunday, it says He is endowed with the word also means victory. In other words, you don't achieve victory by yourself. You receive victory. It comes to you. Then you're victorious. Then you go forth. You receive victory right now. I become victorious before I even see a victory because He has given it to me. You want happiness? You want joy? Everybody wants happiness or joy. And you think, if I get this, I'll be happy. I get this, I'll be... Well, you might be happy for a few days. But what happens is generally after that, it's always going to fade. Because your happiness cannot be dependent on things. Things come and go. If you're happy because you got it, what happens when you lose it? Or what happens when you get used to it? Joy is one of the blessings that God has for your life. It says joy is of the Lord. The joy of the Lord is that He wants you to have joy. But the joy of the Lord is bigger than the world. It's not dependent on a car or a refrigerator or a new outfit. It's not dependent on a new job. It is beyond all that. The joy simply comes. It says rejoice in the Lord always. Well, the thing is, I want joy, so there's joy there. There's joy in the mountain. Let the joy come in. I'm receiving it. Let the joy have its way. The joy of the Lord is just like that. You don't have to have any reason. It just comes and you receive it and you've got the joy. You can't even stop. And then you start rejoicing. At any moment, you got more joy to come to your life. Worship. You're all supposed to worship. We're all supposed to worship God, praise Him. And so we try to worship. We say the words right. Am I getting it right? How do I sound? The person next to me, how do they sound? How do I sound? You try to worship. And it's not bad. We understand you try to worship. But you can't even produce worship on your own Worship is anything that's pure comes from God. Even worship comes from God. You got to let it come. Lord, you're in the worship of God. You know, the Son worships the Father. You get in that flow. You have to let the worship. Lord, I'm letting the blessing. When the blessing comes, it becomes worship when it goes back. You receive it. You've got a calling from God, every one of you. If you're born again, you've got a calling from God. If you're not born again, you have a calling waiting to happen. And so you want to rise to it, good. You want to minister, that's good. You want to minister. But even your calling is a blessing from heaven. Even your calling comes from heaven and not from you. Before you can fulfill your calling, you have to let your calling come in. Receive the calling, receive the mantle. It flows down. Even your ministry, you know, this as ministers, it's easy. You get up, hey, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to produce this. I got to lead worship. I got to do the computers. I got to clean up. I got to preach. But it's not that way. It's, Lord, you do it through me. I'm letting the ministry happen. Let it receive the ministry God has for you. Let it flow, and it will be from God, and you're not going to get burned out because it's Him doing it. Who you are to become from God, it's from God. You receive that. It says put on the new self, not come up with it, put it on as it is. You're dealing with sin, you're trying to get it out of your life, good. But the way you get sin out is to get God in. The way to get darkness out is to get light in. You let the light, you get filled up with God. You want to be godly? You can't be godly unless you have God's presence coming in, flowing in. But when that comes in, everything becomes pure. You know, when you're trying to do things from yourself, even when it's good, you got other motives. But when you do it just from the joy of God, from the love of God, you got pure motives. You welcome it in. First to you. But you've got the power not just to you. You've got the power to welcome Him into the situation. Bring Him in to the relationship. Bring Him in to those around you. Let the light come in. That's, you know, when you share the gospel, that's what you're doing. But it's a flow. It's to be a flow. Just let Him come in. Whatever the situation is, bring Him into the situation. Welcome Him in. The blessing is there. It's waiting, people. All the blessings you could ever know, all that you could ever contain, and what you can't even contain. But you got to welcome it in. The blessing is waiting on the mountain. It is time. God saying, let it in. Let it happen. Let it have its way. It's time to open up the ancient gates, the closed gates in your life, and let it in. There's healing to come to your heart. There's healing to come to your soul. There's healing to come. Let it in. Open up the ancient gates and let the King of Glory come in. Usher it in. The blessing is knocking on the door. Let Him in. Let the love of God in. Let the peace of God in. Let the victory of God in. Welcome it in. Usher it in. Celebrate it in. Let it come in. Open up the gates. Open up the doors. Let it come in at last. The righteousness, the breakthrough, the presence, the joy, the blessings of God. And it will come in because He will come in.
To find out how you can receive more of Jonathan's teachings, to receive special free gifts, or get in touch, go to hopeoftheworld.org or call toll-free 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's hopeoftheworld.org or call 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's 1-800-937-4821. You can also get more at Jonathan Cahn's Facebook page or write us direct at Hope of the World, Box 1111, Lodi, New Jersey 07644, USA.